What if I told you the most powerful thing you could ever say is nothing at all? Today, in a world obsessed with attention, loud voices, and endless opinions, there lies a secret force, one that can disarm enemies, win battles, guard your destiny, and unlock peace. That force is silence. And while everyone is shouting for validation, trying to prove themselves and exposing their thoughts for free, those who master silence rise above the noise. This day, yes, this very special day, has a meaning you may have never considered. It's not just a celebration, it's not just a break, it's a signal, a call to step back, reflect, and listen. Because those who learn to hear the whispers of life often end up leading those who only know how to shout. Stay with me until the end of this message, because what you're about to learn may change how you speak, how you move, and most importantly, how you win in silence. Silence isn't emptiness. It's full of purpose. When you choose not to respond, you are not being passive. You are being strategic. You are choosing to preserve energy rather than waste it in conflict. You see, the loudest person in the room often has the least control, but silence, that's discipline. And discipline is power. In a world that constantly values action, expression, and noise, silence is often seen as a sign of weakness. People tend to think that if you are silent, you have nothing to say, or you are afraid to speak out. But silence, in its truest form, is far from weakness. It is a remarkable and strategic power. It's an understated force that holds immense potential for those who understand how to wield it. In fact, silence is one of the strongest tools a person can use to assert their influence, control their environment, and elevate their presence. Consider this for a moment. When someone is constantly speaking, constantly filling the air with words, they lose their impact. The more they talk, the more they risk saying something that could weaken their position or reveal their vulnerability. But when a person chooses silence, they step into a place of control. They are not bound by the need to defend, to convince, or to prove. They are instead poised, observant, and powerful. Silence allows them to assess the situation, take a step back, and maintain their composure. It's in these moments that you find the strength to make the right choice. Whether it's choosing not to react, choosing to wait, or simply choosing not to participate in the noise. What is truly powerful about silence is that it demands attention. In a noisy world, silence stands out. When you withhold words, it leaves others wondering why. It creates a gap, a space that forces people to reflect. This reflection is where power is born. It's in the silence that you can compel others to examine themselves, their actions, and their words. People will often feel uncomfortable with silence, especially in situations where they expect a response. And this discomfort is a subtle way that silence exerts its power, making people pause and consider their behavior more carefully. Silence also brings emotional intelligence to the forefront. The person who understands silence has mastered emotional control. Instead of being quick to respond to provocations or insults, they use silence as a way to maintain their inner peace and clarity. They know that reacting impulsively often leads to regret, whereas silence gives them the space to think and respond with intention. By withholding their immediate reaction, they have already taken control of the situation. Refusing to be swept up in the emotional turbulence that others may succumb to. Moreover, silence creates an aura of mystery and authority. People are naturally drawn to those who are calm and composed. When you speak less and listen more, your presence becomes more powerful. People begin to respect you, not because of what you say, but because of how you carry yourself. In silence, there is confidence. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You trust that your value is not determined by how much you talk, but by how much you understand, how much you observe, and how much you reflect. When used intentionally, silence also acts as a shield. It protects you from unnecessary conflict, unnecessary explanations, and unnecessary stress. When you choose to remain silent, you are not passive, you are actively protecting your energy. You're saying, I don't need to engage in this, I have the power to let it go. You are no longer reacting to every stimulus around you, you are selectively engaging with only what serves your peace and growth. In this sense, silence becomes your first line of defense against negativity, drama, and chaos. Lastly, silence is an invitation to listen, not only to others, but to yourself. It gives you space to reflect, to evaluate, and to align your actions with your values. By practicing silence, you can hear your inner voice, your intuition, and your deeper thoughts. This allows you to make decisions that are more aligned with who you truly are, rather than making choices based on external pressure or fleeting emotions. Silence is power because it offers a chance to think before you act, to reflect before you speak, and to choose your response rather than being controlled by the moment. It is a strength that allows you to remain composed, to lead by example, and to influence others with your presence and calmness. So, the next time you find yourself in a situation that demands an immediate response, remember, silence is not a sign of weakness. It is your opportunity to step into your power, to take control of the situation, and to demonstrate true strength. True power doesn't come from the ability to dominate others or impose your will on the world. It comes from within, from the quiet yet profound strength of self-contraction. The person who can control their emotions, reactions, and impulses in the face of adversity is the one who holds the key to true power. Self-contraction is the foundation upon which all other forms of strength are built. It is the silent force that shapes your character, determines your decisions, and influences the world around you. When we think about power, we often imagine the loudest voices, the strongest personalities, or the boldest actions. But real power doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to force itself onto others. True power is the calm presence in the room, the person who remains composed in a storm, who doesn't let external circumstances control their internal state. When you possess self-contraction, you don't allow the ups and downs of life to dictate your emotional response. You remain centered, steady, and unshaken by the chaos around you. This ability to maintain your composure is where true strength lies. Self-credential characteristic isn't just about resisting the urge to speak or act impulsively. It's about mastering your emotions and thoughts even when life challenges you. It's about choosing how to respond to situations rather than reacting blindly. In moments of tension or conflict, it's easy to let emotions take over. Anger, frustration, fear, or even excitement can lead to decisions that we later regret. But when you have self-control, you recognize these emotions, you acknowledge them, but you don't let them drive your actions. You pause, reflect, and respond with intention. This practice of responding instead of reacting is the essence of true power. It allows you to stay in control of the situation, no matter how chaotic or difficult it may seem. Self-creation also gives you the power to navigate relationships and communication with greater ease. In any relationship, whether personal or professional, emotions run high. Words can be said in the heat of the moment that can create lasting damage. But the person who exercises self-creation has the ability to listen deeply, to pause before responding, and to choose their words with care. This level of control not only strengthens your relationships, but also earns you the respect of others. People are drawn to those who don't give in to emotional outbursts or impulsive reactions. They admire the person who remains calm, who doesn't let small irritations escalate into major conflicts. When you practice self-control in your interactions, you create an environment of peace, understanding, and mutual respect. Self-correction is also essential for achieving personal growth and success. Every goal worth achieving requires discipline. Whether it's improving your health, building a career, or developing new skills, success is a product of consistent effort and restraint. Self-correction is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It's the ability to say no to distractions, to delay gratification, and to stick with a plan even when the path is difficult or unappealing. Those who lack self-control often find themselves giving in to temptations or procrastination, which leads to wasted time and missed opportunities. But those who have mastered self-control are able to push through the challenges and stay focused on the long-term goal. This inner discipline is what allows you to build the life you truly want. Self-creation enables you to stay in charge of your mental and physical well-being. It's easy to fall into unhealthy habits or indulge in things that provide temporary pleasure. But true self-creation allows you to make decisions that benefit your future self. Whether it's managing stress, maintaining a healthy diet, or committing to a fitness routine, self-creation is the foundation of self-care. It teaches you to prioritize your long-term happiness over short-term satisfaction. The power of self-control is not only about resisting the urge to act impulsively, it's about being able to choose the right action at the right time. It's about being able to stay calm in moments of crisis, to think clearly in moments of confusion, and to respond with wisdom rather than emotion. When you cultivate self-control, you hold the reins of your life in your hands. You are not a prisoner of your circumstances or your emotions. You are the master of your fate. So the next time you find yourself in a difficult situation or facing a challenge, remember that the greatest power you can possess is the ability to control yourself. The person who has mastered self-control is the person who truly controls their destiny. And that is the kind of power that can change lives, influence others, and create lasting success. In a world filled with constant noise, where everyone is vying for attention and trying to be heard, the person who chooses silence becomes the one who stands out. Noise in all its forms, whether it's physical, emotional, or social, has become the background of our daily lives. We are constantly bombarded by the opinions of others, the demands of society, and the endless flood of information. In this chaotic environment, silence is a rare and striking anomaly. It is in silence that true influence is born. And this silence, paradoxically, becomes a tool that attracts attention rather than repels it. When everyone around you is speaking loudly, shouting to make their voices heard, choosing to remain silent forces the world to stop and take notice. Silence disrupts the noise. It creates a space that is different from everything around it. People are naturally drawn to what is different. The loudest voice is often the most easily ignored because it blends into the background of everything else. But silence, real, intentional silence, commands focus. It is the calm in the storm, the quiet in the middle of chaos. It invites curiosity and makes others pause to consider what is being left unsaid. Silence, in its most profound form, does not simply withdraw from the noise. It forces the noise to reflect and listen. Choosing silence is not about being passive or disengaged. It is a conscious decision to not be swept away by the noise around you. It is an active form of restraint, a deliberate choice to withhold your words until the right moment comes. In doing so, you create an air of mystery. Silence gives you power over the situation because people are left to wonder about you. Why aren't you speaking? What are you thinking? This sense of mystery draws people in, making them more attentive to what you might say next. The quiet individual in the room often has more influence than the loudest voice because they have created a space where others are compelled to focus on them, waiting for them to speak. In addition to drawing attention, silence forces others to listen more carefully. When we are surrounded by noise, we tend to tune out. Our minds become cluttered and we stop paying attention to the finer details. However, when silence enters the picture, it creates a contrast that demands focus. In the quiet, people are more likely to listen intently to the words that follow because they know that these words will be meaningful and deliberate. Silence makes your presence felt in ways that words often cannot. It makes people more aware of you, and it demands respect. Silence also gives you the space to think and observe. In a world of constant chatter, many people fail to notice what's truly happening around them. They are too busy talking, reacting, and responding to pay attention to the subtleties of a situation. But in silence, you have the opportunity to observe deeply. You can read the room, notice the dynamics at play, and assess the motives and emotions of the people involved. This awareness makes your silence even more powerful as you can strategically choose when to break it and what to say when you do. When you speak, after observing in silence, your words are more precise and more impactful because they are rooted in understanding and reflection. The act of remaining silent also gives you a sense of inner peace that becomes apparent to those around you. People notice when you are calm in the face of chaos, and they are drawn to that peace. It is magnetic. Your ability to maintain silence while the world around you may be filled with noise and distraction shows that you are not easily moved or influenced by external circumstances. This gives you an aura of strength and control which attracts attention in the best possible way. People are naturally inclined to respect and be drawn to those who can stay grounded and composed regardless of the situation. Silence allows you to communicate powerfully without ever saying a word. In many cases, the absence of speech communicates more than words could. In moments of conflict, for example, silence can be a powerful tool for disarming a tense situation. Rather than adding fuel to the fire, you remain silent, forcing others to reassess their behavior. The silence, when used strategically, can shift the power dynamic in your favor. It allows you to respond from a place of clarity and calm rather than reactionary emotion. In a noisy world, silence becomes a rare and precious resource. It is in this silence that your true power emerges. By choosing silence, you invite attention, invite respect, and create an environment where your influence is felt more deeply than through words alone. Silence is not a void, but a space filled with potential. Potential to listen, to reflect, to observe, and to influence. So, in the noise of the world, let silence be your most powerful tool. Let it attract the attention that is rightfully yours and allow it to shape the world around you in ways that words never could. There's an old adage that says, still waters run deep. And nowhere is this truer than when we consider the power of silence. In a world where noise often dominates, it is easy to assume that strength is best demonstrated through action, through speaking out, or through confrontation. However, true strength is revealed not in the volume of your voice or the force of your actions, but in the quiet moments where you choose to remain silent. Silence is not the absence of strength. Rather, it is the environment in which true strength can grow and be observed. The power of silence lies in its ability to reveal the depth of one's character and the true nature of their inner strength. When we are faced with challenges, especially in difficult or high-stress situations, the natural impulse is to react, to raise our voices, to defend ourselves, or to try and control the environment through our words and actions. But it is in the moments when we refrain from reacting, when we choose to remain silent, that our true strength shines through. It takes immense self-discipline and emotional intelligence to resist the urge to speak or act impulsively in response to provocation. This type of strength is subtle but profound. It is a quiet force that speaks louder than any words or actions ever could. Choosing silence in the face of adversity doesn't mean that you are weak or passive. On the contrary, it requires more strength than engaging in unnecessary conflict. The person who can stay silent when their emotions are running high, when they are provoked, or when they feel misunderstood is the person who has mastered self-control. They have learned to harness the power of their emotions, choosing not to let them dictate their actions. This kind of emotional restraint is the hallmark of true strength. It is a demonstration of maturity, wisdom, and self-awareness. Silence also reveals strength in terms of resilience. Life is filled with moments of hardship, disappointment, and frustration. The ability to remain silent and composed in these moments speaks volumes about your inner strength. It shows that you are not easily defeated by external circumstances. You have developed the fortitude to endure difficulty with grace, not needing to complain or vocalize every struggle you face. There is an inherent power in being able to endure hardship without drawing attention to it, without seeking validation or sympathy from others. This quiet strength is often more respected than overt displays of struggle or resistance. People recognize it as the ability to stand firm even when the world around you is shaking. Silence allows you to listen and learn in ways that action cannot. When you remain silent, you create the space to observe and understand. It is in these moments of quiet that you gain the wisdom and insight to respond thoughtfully and effectively. True strength lies not in reacting hastily, but in the ability to pause, reflect, and then make decisions that are aligned with your values and your long-term goals. Silence allows you to step back from the situation, evaluate it with a clear mind, and choose a response that will serve you and those around you best. This thoughtful approach is far more powerful than reacting based on emotion or impulse. Silence reveals your strength in relationships, In moments of conflict or tension, the person who remains silent often holds the power to diffuse the situation, to offer peace rather than perpetuate conflict. In these moments, silence communicates that you are not interested in escalating the issue. It shows that you are not reacting in anger or frustration, but instead are choosing to maintain your inner peace. This, in turn, can cause others to stop and reflect on their own behavior. Silence, in this context, is a powerful tool for calming storms, fostering understanding, and restoring harmony. Another way that silence reveals strength is through the respect it commands. When you choose silence over unnecessary words, others begin to notice your composure, your ability to remain unshaken, and your self-assurance. People are drawn to those who have the strength to stand still, to not be easily moved by the noise of the world. The silent individual often carries an air of mystery, and this can create an aura of authority and influence. In contrast to those who seek attention by speaking constantly, those who remain silent command a kind of quiet authority. They don't need to prove anything. They simply are. In every aspect of life, silence serves as a mirror to your true strength. It shows your ability to control your emotions, to endure hardships, to observe and reflect before taking action, and to maintain composure in the face of conflict. True strength is not about being the loudest or the most forceful. It is about being able to remain calm, composed, and centered, regardless of the circumstances. Silence is the space in which this strength can flourish. And it is often in our silence that the world comes to recognize the depth of our power. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to forget the importance of taking a moment to stop, reflect, and think. We are often caught up in the rush of daily life, constantly moving from one task to another, reacting to everything around us without taking the time to pause and consider our next steps. Yet it is in silence that we are granted the space to think deeply, to process our thoughts, and to make decisions that are aligned with our true values and goals. Silence provides us with a precious opportunity for introspection, allowing us to connect with our inner selves and find clarity amidst the noise of the world. The mind is constantly bombarded by external stimuli, information, distractions, demands from others, and the pressure to perform. It is in these moments of overwhelming noise that silence becomes a sanctuary. When we embrace silence, we give ourselves the chance to slow down, to clear away the clutter of everyday life, and to focus solely on our thoughts. This pause allows our minds to regain focus, reset, and make more intentional decisions. Without the constant input from the outside world, we can tune in to our internal voice, listen to our intuition, and make decisions that come from a place of understanding rather than reaction. Silence provides the space for clarity. When we are caught in a cycle of constant activity, it can be difficult to see the bigger picture. We may find ourselves reacting to every situation without taking the time to consider the long-term impact of our actions. But when we choose to be silent, we allow our minds the freedom to step back and view things from a broader perspective. Silence gives us the opportunity to reflect on our past choices, evaluate our current circumstances, and think ahead to the future. This clarity of thought enables us to make better decisions, whether they involve personal relationships, career paths, or personal growth. It is only in silence that we can find the mental space needed to connect the dots. Silence allows us to sharpen our decision-making skills. In the quiet, we are free from the distractions that often lead to hasty or poorly thought-out decisions. It's in the moments of silence that we are able to examine the options before us and weigh them carefully. We can reflect on the potential consequences of our choices, think through the pros and cons, and consider alternative solutions. In this way, silence acts as a tool for critical thinking. It helps us slow down the decision-making process so that we can make choices that are thoughtful, deliberate, and aligned with our long-term objectives. Silence also allows us to process our emotions in a healthier way. In a world where emotions often run high, we may find ourselves reacting impulsively to stressful situations. Silence gives us the opportunity to pause, take a step back, and allow our emotions to settle before we respond. This emotional pause helps prevent us from saying or doing things we may later regret. It allows us to gain control over our emotions rather than letting them control us. Through silence, we can achieve emotional maturity by choosing to respond thoughtfully and with intention, rather than reacting impulsively to situations that trigger our emotions. Beyond processing emotions, silence gives us the opportunity to access creativity and innovative thinking. In the quiet moments, when our minds are not distracted, we often find that our best ideas emerge. Many great thinkers throughout history have credited silence as a key ingredient in their creative process. The absence of noise allows the mind to wander freely, to make connections between seemingly unrelated ideas, and to discover new solutions to problems. In the silence, we can step away from conventional thinking and tap into our creative potential. Silence provides the mental space to think outside the box, to imagine new possibilities, and to develop unique approaches to challenges. Silence also allows us to connect with our deeper selves. In the rush of everyday life, it's easy to lose touch with who we truly are, what we value, and what we want out of life. Silence creates the space for self-reflection, enabling us to align our actions with our authentic selves. When we are silent, we can examine our motivations, our desires, and our goals, and make adjustments as needed. This self-awareness is crucial for personal growth and development. Silence provides the time to reconnect with our inner purpose and make choices that are in harmony with our true selves. Silence is a powerful tool. It gives us the time and space to think, to reflect, and to make decisions that are thoughtful and deliberate. By embracing silence, we allow ourselves to gain clarity, sharpen our decision-making, process our emotions, unlock our creativity, and reconnect with our deeper selves. It is in silence that we find the peace and the mental space necessary to navigate the complexities of life with intention and wisdom. In a world filled with constant noise and chatter, we often forget that the most powerful messages are sometimes the ones that are left unsaid. We live in a society that values expression and outward communication, where the loudest voices tend to dominate and receive the most attention. Yet, silence has a language all its own. A language that speaks louder and more profoundly than words ever could. Silence holds the power to communicate messages that go beyond the surface level, reaching deeper into the hearts and minds of those who are open enough to listen. When we choose to remain silent, we are not simply refraining from speaking. We are actively choosing to communicate in a way that invites reflection, curiosity, and understanding. The absence of words can carry immense weight. It can convey emotions, thoughts, and feelings that are too complex or too profound to be captured by language alone. Silence creates space for deeper connection, as it allows individuals to interpret what is being left unsaid and to derive their own meaning from it. In this way, silence becomes a tool for personal and collective communication that transcends the limitations of spoken language. One of the most powerful ways silence speaks is through its ability to express emotions. Often words fall short when it comes to conveying the depth of our feelings. There are moments in life, moments of grief, love, awe, or contemplation, when words seem inadequate. In these moments, silence becomes the most honest and authentic form of communication. A simple pause, a moment of stillness, can convey more emotion than an entire speech. For example, when someone is mourning a loss, their silence can communicate the grief and sorrow that words cannot adequately express. Similarly, a shared silence between two people can speak volumes about the depth of their connection, their mutual understanding, and their unspoken bond. Silence in these instances becomes the language of the heart. Silence also speaks through its ability to command attention. In a world where everyone is speaking, constantly vying for attention, silence can be a powerful way to stand out. When you choose to remain silent in a conversation, it forces others to pause and take notice. It creates a space where people must listen more carefully to what is being said. Silence, in this context, acts as a signal, one that says, I am paying attention and I expect you to do the same. It shifts the focus from superficial noise to the deeper, more meaningful aspects of communication. Silence has the power to create a sense of mystery. In the absence of words, people are naturally curious. They wonder what the silent person is thinking, feeling, or experiencing. This intrigue can lead to a deeper exploration of ideas and emotions. Silence can serve as a way of drawing others in, encouraging them to reflect on their own thoughts and to question what lies beneath the surface. It challenges people to move beyond the obvious and to engage with the complexity of the moment. In this way, silence creates an opportunity for deeper conversations and connections, ones that go beyond the usual surface level exchanges. Silence also speaks louder than words in moments of conflict or tension. In these situations, we are often tempted to speak out, to defend ourselves, or to escalate the argument with our words. However, silence has the ability to diffuse the situation. When we choose not to respond immediately, we create the opportunity for calmness and clarity to take hold. In many instances, silence can break the cycle of conflict and open the door to resolution. It shows maturity, patience, and emotional control, qualities that are often overlooked in a world that prizes quick reactions and instant gratification. In addition to its role in conflict resolution, silence also speaks through its ability to give others space. Often, when we are in conversations, we feel the need to fill every silence with words. However, silence allows others to process their thoughts, to reflect, and to contribute when they are ready. In this sense, silence is an act of respect. It shows that you value the other person's perspective and are willing to wait for them to speak in their own time. It can also encourage deeper thinking, as the pause in conversation gives people the opportunity to organize their thoughts and express them more clearly. Silence can serve as a reflection of inner peace. When we remain silent, we are often reflecting a calmness and serenity that can be contagious. In the midst of chaos or confusion, a person who maintains silence exudes a sense of control and confidence. Their silence speaks volumes about their ability to remain grounded and composed, no matter what is happening around them. In this way, silence becomes a source of strength, not weakness, as it demonstrates the inner resilience and clarity of the individual who chooses it. Silence speaks louder than words because it allows for the presence of truth. In a world where truth can often be obscured by distractions, misunderstandings, and misinterpretations, silence allows truth to emerge in its purest form. It is in the moments of silence that we find clarity, self-awareness, and the space to confront difficult truths about ourselves and others. Silence allows us to listen to the deeper truths that reside within us, and it creates the opportunity to speak those truths when the time is right. Silence carries a weight that words alone cannot match. It speaks with clarity, emotion, and power. It communicates truth, mystery, and understanding. It diffuses conflict, commands attention, and invites reflection. Silence is a language that transcends the limitations of words. And in a world that often values noise and chatter, it is the quiet moments that speak the loudest. So today, I challenge you, let silence become your greatest weapon, not because you're afraid to speak, but because you're wise enough to wait. Because sometimes what you don't say will be what says the most. This day, this sacred, quiet, powerful day isn't just another mark on the calendar. It's a reminder that you are not defined by noise, but by your ability to rise above it. So the next time life gets loud, choose silence and watch how the world starts listening